off your engine! Jazz Huntington says, I bought an '07 Ford Ranger a month ago. The dealer flushed the fluids and transmission fluid. I noticed fluid was leaking and I checked it. And the transmission dipstick is filled 3 times to what it should be. I'm going to call the dealer. Do you think it could have done any damage? Because I've driven it 2,000 miles this way. They screwed up and put too much fluid in it. You know what I tell them if I were you? Say, I demand you pull it off now and you replace all the seals. Overfilling an automatic transmission has one main problem. It builds up too much pressure and it will blow all the seals. Now, if you underfill it, that can destroy it from lack of lubrication. So you got plenty of it in it, so there's no problem with lubrication. The problem is it builds up too much pressure. Then it will blow all the seals. And if you drove it 2,000 miles, now there's fluid everywhere, it's probably blown all the seals. And I would demand them take a picture of it was overfilled, said, you guys screwed up. I want the tranny pulled off. I want all the seals replaced. That's their fault for being idiots. And unfortunately, I see this more and more at car dealers. The guys working there, especially, you said you bought it from a used car dealer. Some of the guys they have working at mechanics at those places, I mean, they're not real mechanics. They're just some local kid or some guy that they hire and they don't know what they're doing. They obviously screwed it up. So, you might even go so far as say, hey, you messed it up. I'm going to take it to a real mechanic, have them put new seals, and you're going to pay for it. But if they say they're going to pull it and pull seals, demand that you see the job. Tell them, call me when you got it pulled. I want to watch you change the seals because I wouldn't trust them. If they got a mechanic that bad that he overfilled it, I don't know if I trust the guy to pull the transmission off and put seals in it. I'd really wonder there. But a warning for everyone else out there, that's why you don't want to overfill transmissions. You blow the seals, you got to pull the transmission, it's going to cost you a lot of money just because you put too much fluid in. Here's an oldie. K. Stefani says, I recently bought a daily driver 1968 Dodge Dart because I heard the 225/6 engine can run over 1,000,000 miles. What's your experience with these engines? Okay, yes, they can run a really long time. But you say it's a daily driver. It's a 1968 car. The engine may run forever, but there are so many things that can go wrong with a car that's that old. That's more of a fun weekend toy, a parade car. I don't know if I'd want to use it as a daily driver because there's so many things that are going to wear out a car that is that old. But the engine will probably keep running forever. They were very good engines. Saw one the other day. It was still purring down the road. It wasn't a 68. It was a 70s slant 6, but it was still running like a clock. They were very well-built engines. Corvette Jose says, I got an '07 Scion TC with 120,000 miles, no check engine light. I was wondering, can it handle a turbo? I want it to be zippy. Now, Toyota makes good engines, but you're talking about a car that's a little bitty 4-cylinder. It's got 120,000 miles. You can put a turbo on it. You put a supercharger on it if you want it, but odds are you're going to wear out the engine faster. And here's the biggest rub. It's a 2007. If it's got one of those 2.4-liter Toyota engines that had the problem with oil burning, you definitely wouldn't do it because it would really destroy it. The piston rings are already worn, probably, if it's got that engine in it, and it's going to wear them out even faster. They're good cars that can run a long time. Adding something, a boost like that on an old engine that was notorious for burning oil anyways, I'd kind of stay away from that one because you don't want to create a problem with a vehicle that runs perfectly fine. They're not race cars. They never were race cars. My advice is you want a faster car, keep that as your everyday driver and go buy some other vehicle that maybe needs a little work and build it up as time goes on. Because if you have an older car and you want a turbo or supercharge it, you're better first to rebuild the engine so the engine could take it, then put the turbo or supercharger on. Or if you don't care, put the supercharger or turbocharger on, and then when the engine blows, because it probably will, then put another engine in it. I've seen guys do that a lot. Well, an American-made car just set a record at 316 miles an hour as the fastest production road-legal car. Now, the company called Tuatara. It's based in Washington State. And as you can see, the back of it kind of looks like the Batmobile. You got to be pretty aerodynamic to go 316 miles an hour. Now, it was done, they said, on a Nevada road. They're not stipulating which one as far as I can find out. Hopefully there was no one around where they were testing it. It's got a V8 engine. Of course, it's boosted like mad. The interesting thing is, it's only $1.9 million. He said he's going to limit production to 100 a year, but as it stands, they're only going to make 12 of them this year. You know, it looks just like any of the Ferraris, whatever. To go that fast, they could have a certain design to them. This one looks more like a Batmobile from the back, but it's able to go that fast, interestingly enough, on E85, 85% ethanol. 15% gasoline. Puts out like 1,750 horsepower with E85. Well, I'll take it back. You don't know where? It was in Pahrump, Nevada. That's where they tested it out. On Highway 160. Hopefully they closed different ends of it when people were doing it. And it wasn't just some clown. It was a race car driver, Oliver Webb, who was 29, who was driving it. So it wasn't just some rich guy that had the millions decided he was going to go that fast. It was a professional driver who knew what he was doing. So if you want to drive a road legal car, 316 miles an hour, you might think about buying a Tuatara. Of course, the problem is there's no place where 316 miles an hour is a legal speed, though, I guess. In places like Montana where they don't have any speed limit, maybe they would let you go that fast there. I don't know. Yes, the world has indeed gone insane with this coronavirus pandemic. There now is a company in Germany called Mansory, and they have the Mansory RSQ8 as the world's fastest SUV. It's an SUV that can go 199 miles an hour. What they did was they turned an Audi by adding 180 horsepower to a twin-turbo V8 that already had a lot of horsepower and called it the Mansory RSQ8. And it can go 199 miles an hour and can go 0 to 60 in just 3.3 seconds. Well, actually, it's 0 to 62 because they go by the metric system there in Europe. They're crazy stuff. But, you know, let's face it, if your wife has late with the kids to the soccer game, she can now go 199 miles an hour to get them there on time so they don't miss the kickoff. These guys at Mansory got 780 horsepower out of this Audi engine that they have on the thing. So if you're really looking to beat everyone in the SUV, run out and buy one of these with all that horsepower. All I have to say is, still an SUV, you're going that fast. I don't know how it's going to stay on the ground and not tip over when you're making some kind of a turn in the thing. It's not a race car, and yeah, they modified it, but still. I don't think SUVs are really meant to go 199 miles an hour. But if you want the world's fastest SUV, hey, maybe the Mansory RSQ8 is for you. Now, the regular Audi's only $109,000, and there's no information out yet on what they're going to charge for this Mansory, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a bit over that. So, if you don't mind buying a vehicle that's the cost of a house in many areas, feel free to have the world's fastest SUV. Well, if you want to sleep in your truck, the new 2021 Ford F-150 Max Recline seats go all the way flat so you can sleep in them. Well, if you see the price of all the brand new trucks and how much they cost, hey, you may not be able to even afford a motel room anymore, and you might have to sleep in your truck. Now, Ford says that these were inspired by the adjustable beds you see on TV, so they go flat out, and you can sleep in your truck. It's not just that it can recline. When the seat back drops, the back of the seat cushion raises 3.5 inches to provide more support for your lower back, so you won't get a sore back when you're sleeping in your truck, like we used to. Back in the day, they were bench seats, and you just sleep a long ways on. Your arms would be all over the place. And they didn't have to put a bunch of extra motors in it. A simple mechanism that relies on the customer moving the seat back with the power incline that was already there. It just goes further. Now, unfortunately, you can already get it on the King Ranch and Platinum trims of the trucks, and it's $340, so it's not all that much more. But since it is the King Ranch and the Platinum trims, like I said, if you have to spend all your money on that truck, you might not have any money left for even a motel room, so you might end up sleeping in your truck. Jackal says, for $8,000, I found a used Nissan Leaf with a good battery. I read online you can upgrade battery, but the battery is good. Well, if you want an electric car, not a bad idea. As you found, the resale value of electric cars is relatively low. Take advantage of it. Realize it has a limited range. If you're accepting that limited range, it's not a bad idea. That's the low end. I had a customer in Houston that bought a Tesla Model S. The original owner paid like $120-something thousand. He only paid $45,000 when it had 15,000 miles on it. They have very low resale value. But I'm kind of with you. I would rather pay $8,000 for a Nissan Leaf than $45,000 for a Tesla. There's a big price difference. And if you're happy with that, I've had customers with Leafs, and they liked it. Now, there were people that knew it was a limited range, but they were totally happy, and they ran perfectly fine. So, hey, that could be a very good deal. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.